many members of the Wiper Party who moved to the Jubilee Party. Those people, anybody will say they have no clout. Any vote counts. Every candidate has 10 or 15 people who are loyal to him. Therefore, the president showing the president's votes in Cumberland will be more than they were in 2013. And that is what the president is saying. Let us move in, whether we add a vote today, we move in next week, we add 2 votes. That will go away to determine the 50 plus 1%.
Already, your thoughts on the fact that, as Danson is saying, the elections of 2022 are being played out today, and yet, interestingly, we're 34 days to the general election, but then we're hearing talk about who is eyeing the presidency come 2022, who will support who. We know that in local dailies today that Raila Odinga has clearly come out strongly as saying that this is his final stab at the presidency. What are you reading into this?
Lillian, you know, the political following, all politicians do know, depend on the size of hope and the size of the prize ahead. That is why people keep on dangling this 2022 prize, because the prize for now is already determined. So they have to keep the people hoping. You know, even in religion, people hope for the kingdom of God rather than the little things that God do to them on this earth. If today you tell them the kingdom of God will not be there, but keep praying because God will prevent diseases and all that, Christianity will collapse. So people look at the bigger prize. That is why people turn out to vote for the president more than they vote for MPs, senators, and governors. So that's why all politicians are now determined to keep the prize floating. But you remember there is one man called Mutua in Cumberland, but he has now been reduced to fighting for his own survival. That's why he cannot go there promising people the hope of 2022.
And, you know, let's talk about Raila Odinga, just moving away from Ukambani, the fact that he's making forays in perceived Jubilee strongholds, the fact that he's deviating from his earlier style of concentrating on his support basis. Do you see at this point, or with the NASA making any inroads whatsoever, particularly in the Jubilee strongholds? And let's talk about Kiambu specifically.
True, they will always make. You know, there's a key thing in the human life, and that is food. Food has been a big issue in the current government, and that gives Raila Odinga the confidence to move into any part of the country and talk about it. You remember in the last general election, it was difficult for him to move in the very perceived Jubilee strongholds because they were almost at par with the Jubilee brigade. But right now, he has enough ammunition to hit them where it matters. He has enough reasons for the people to want to listen to him if he would be different from what we have seen in the Jubilee administration. That is why, particularly in Kiambu, he will still go. Kiambu is relatively close to Nairobi. He will get good crowds with good listening capacity.
Right, and Dunstan, you know, the president has also used this opportunity during the Ukambani tour to draw parallels between his administration and the NASA lineup, again saying that while his administration is committed to developing the country evenly, and we're now going back to the bag of goodies that Jubilee has been dishing out, that the opposition is sowing discord along tribal lines. And yet now we see NASA clearly moving away from, you know, its strongholds and going to Kiambu, but then again also coming out very strongly and saying that this Kenya belongs to all of us.
The narrative about zoning of this country and balkanizing this country based on ethnic arithmetic seems to be collapsing with the emergence of a new animal called the independent candidates. The independent candidates have made that monogamy point of view that this is a stronghold not to be a stronghold. We are seeing pockets that have already sprung out from Mount Kenya region. The Kikuyu nation is divided. The Mount Kenya region that was there 2013 is totally divided. The Rift Valley block, out of Ruto Isaac's entry, you've seen a lot of tectonic movements moving on. The Munya region of the Meru side is moving in a very fast manner. So in my own view is that there seems to be the death of tribalism by the emergence of the independent candidates. The question, Lillian, I've always asked is, where will the money of those billionaires from Central Province and Rift Valley who are orphans. They are not in Jubilee. They are independent candidates. And they are being told they must step down. They are arguing the person who rigged them is now telling them to move out. Are these people silently funding NASA? Are there people likely to vote with NASA? Is it the same arithmetic that we are likely to see in Luo Nyanza? Where are the likes of the Ochilo Ayako, the Gumbo, the Ranguma? Where are they likely to tell their voters to vote for? Are they going to vote for Raila Odinga, the party that rigged them out? So that new emergence of very strong independent candidates that have money, that have people, is likely to cause the issue. Kiambu, when we look at the MCAs that defected, all of them are sitting MCAs. They were elected on a Jubilee ticket. They were all swept out. And the argument is that the elections, the party primaries, were rigged by somebody in the headquarters at Jubilee. Are we likely to see the Bernie Sanders theory of the majority that are quiet, the silent people, going to do what they know best on 8th? My arithmetic is that Raila Odinga is a project, not purely of the Luo nation, but a project of disgruntled Kikuyu businessmen who either have been edged out by the Chinese from contracts or have been edged out by the perceived enemy they call the deputy president. Or in our own view, there seems to be a serious paradigm shift between the old money that was in circulation from 1963 to the 2013 that used to trade with government, and the new type of young and energetic businessmen who are the Jubilee creatures for these elections.
And we're talking about Central Kenya and what Dunstan there is alluding to. Do you agree on the same, that Raila Odinga might be a project of disgruntled elements?
Lillian, you know, there's one thing that somebody called Henry Brougham once said: the educated are easy to lead but difficult to drive, easy to govern but impossible to enslave. Now the last word, impossible to enslave. These political bigwigs have always enslaved their people for a long time, because majority of the voter was a person who knows who is our son and they vote, who is one of our own and they vote. That is no longer going to be the case. Education have moved in, and something has really created awareness, and that is the improved level of communication between one person and the next, between the educated and the uneducated, between the people who know and people who don't know, between those who live in urban areas and those who don't, between those who witness things happen and those who wait to hear what has happened. So it is no longer going to be who is our son to vote, because you see, the administration we have had today since 2013 has affected very many people in very many different ways. Today you cannot see a major local contractor anywhere, even if you wanted to use one. You have to go back and use the Chinese. And the Chinese have proved that they are not doing any work better than Kenyans. Kenyans can do just as much work. Where did Kirinyaga construction go? And that is probably must have been in the Jubilee stronghold. So it is not going to be business as usual anymore. Even the Kikuyu nation have seen the light that anyone can be president and anyone can be president and we benefit.
That's a very interesting perspective. But then again, also going back to Kiambu, where the Jubilee Brigade campaigned last week, talking again about the independent factor, the independent candidates factor, do you also agree with what Dunstan said there? Because last week we also saw a big boost for Uhuru as independents withdrew their bid to support Jubilee candidates.
I don't think this independent thing has so much effect on the presidential candidate, because in Kiambu, as in Kisumu and so on, they seem to be looking at the eyes of the electorate. What am I going to say? I have to say that I support Uhuru in Kiambu and Raila in Kisumu to get their votes. So for the time being, they are going to follow the presidential candidates that they vie in their strongholds. So they may not affect the presidential vote very much, but they will to some extent, because people vote either because they like you or because they hate your opponent.
Right, and Dunstan, going back to Machakos, and the Jubilee Brigade expected to campaign there. Just looking at the numbers there, and in fact, and just going back to the fact that you had mentioned that crowds do not in any way translate to votes. The Ukambani vote, and where you see allegiance being, we know that there have been several defections from Wiper, those of the likes of Joe Mutambo and what have you. What do you see, what scenario do you see playing out within Ukambani 34 days to the polls?
When I look at Ukambani, I look at Ukambani in two layers. One, the presidential vote. The presidential vote is already a closed chapter. That the majority of an 80% and above will be in NASA. But when it will come to the lower ranks, the governor downwards, it will be based on individuals. Who is the best candidate? People are not going to be hoodwinked to vote for Wiper candidates if that Wiper candidate does not measure to the standard of what the voters want. So in our own view, there are two layers of elections. The presidential debate is totally a different question, and the lower ranks are going to be very different. So today what we are going to see is going to be almost like a replica of what happened in Kirinyaga. Is the president going to campaign for the Jubilee candidates? How is he going to deal with the chap-chap people? The majority of Ukambani has chap-chap candidates. And there is an MOU between chap-chap, the Mutua-led party, and Jubilee. How is it going to play out? Is the president going to push the agenda of Jubilee? And therefore, is chap-chap going to swallow and say, if the president comes here, he must, the way Madakarua said, there is an existing arrangement. The president must incorporate all of us. And the president in his mother tongue said, all these people are mine. Are we likely to see that narrative in Machakos today? It has not come out very clearly where Mutua disappeared to. After Wavinya Ndeti came very strong and the courts made her almost become a serious contender with her, the song that is coming out, Ndwele and the others. Now she's becoming so strong a candidate in Ukambani. So we are likely...
Do you honestly think the song has made any impact whatsoever apart from basically just, exciting social media?
Let me tell you, Lillian, politics is about visibility. When Yaliopita si Ndwele, what, it has become a song. She has stolen the thunder from Alfred Mutua. She is now the most visible Kamba personality, even ahead of Charity Ngilu, ahead of sitting governors like Malombe. So, and she knows very well how to take the public limelight. In my own view, the debate in Machakos today is likely to destroy Jubilee or make Jubilee stronger, depending on how Mutua is handled. If Mutua is mishandled, then are we likely to see the coalitions of the reality coming later, where Mutua will say, I better realign myself with Wiper and retain my position as a governor? Then the president will have to look for his votes. The reality is coming out today.
Already, your thoughts on the same?
In Machakos today, other than the Wavinya and Mutua battle, there are a lot of non-Kambas there, people from all parts of the country. The president would like to talk to them, because the battle now is no longer just the total tally. It is also about, how do I get the 25% in 24 counties? How do I create perception that I am a winner? How do I bring narratives that will spread throughout the country? Because politics is not just about who actually gets out to go and vote. It is also about those who convince others to come and vote. But as for Wavinya and Mutua, I think Wavinya now has a head start. The electorate like to punish and reward. When they think they need to punish you, they don't care who replaces you. When they think they want to reward you, they don't care your capability. That is the electorate. And
what do you make of his almost subdued approach of doing things, since the court ruled in Wavinya's favor. Do you think that today might perhaps serve as an opportunity for him to make a strong comeback?
Remember, Machakos is so full of NASA. So Jubilee going to campaign for Mutua is not going to change anything. It may even worsen it. So Jubilee is going there purely for their own presidential vote. Mutua may not benefit from their visit.
Dunstan, you agree that Mutua may not benefit from this Jubilee visit?
Actually, it might be the barrier day for Mutua politically, because the way things are going, when you look at the women rep, that is Senator Mudhama's wife, she's the Jubilee candidate, a non-starter totally. When you look at the luminaries now being arraigned against Mutua, in Nairobi County, Senator Mudhama has taken over the campaign for the Kamba Nation in Nairobi. When you look at the rich Kambas, the Peter Mudhoka, the people who are tilting towards they have gone quiet. When we look at Wavinya Ndeti, the IBC chair campaigned for Wavinya Ndeti tremendously. The narrative is that Mutua and Jubilee were using the IBC to bar Wavinya from contesting. So in my argument, the way this argument is going is that if Mutua does not get it right, the question Mutua is going to be faced. One, in the event that he loses, which is definite that with all factors constant, he is a non-starter in competition with Wavinya Ndeti. Number two, in the event that Jubilee does not win, where will Mutua go? The narrative in Jubilee is they have very many positions for people to be appointed. The numbers have become so huge that we even don't know where those positions are going to come from. The numbers in NASA, also those ones who lost, they are being told, we will appoint you, don't worry.
Right.
Is Mutua going to take that narrative? I have seen the reaction of one CS called Kunjuri become so jittery of late after the Court of Appeal said that the polling results are final at the polling station. And you could see somebody making a point that, gosh, suppose Jubilee does not win. I did not contest to be a governor. Where will I go? That is the question Mutua is facing. Has Mutua become now shy of the media? What happened since Wavinya Ndeti was cleared to contest? Where did Alfred Mutua go? In my own view, political obituaries are going to be done today. And as my good friend says, the visit of the president to Machakos is not about Mutua. It is about his vote, to get that 50+1 vote, and also to get 25% within 24 counties.
And as we come to the top of this hour already, I'll forward this question to you and then back to you, Dunstan, on the same. Seeing that Jubilee is cognizant of the fact that this is a NASA stronghold, is there a likelihood that they could push for a 6-piece voting system while in Machakos today?
I think they will be very careful about what they say. They will study the mood of the audience. I remember watching Kitui. There's something I noticed. The people in front were all in red. The people at the back were all in colors, and they were never caring about what the statements were. So the president was very cautious. He was pleading out there. And I told myself, these people all in red, they must have made contact with the Jubilee leadership. So they will have to sing their song, they'll have to cheer when they speak things, and so on. So the president will be cautious. Two, in Machakos, he will be very cautious. He will watch out for the crowd. What do I say? You know, there are people who speak early. And I'm sure the president or the deputy will study their body language and speak what they want to hear, because the battle here is do or die for now.
What I see, Lillian, there are two double speaks. The president seems to be reading the mood very well, but he also gives the DP instructions to antagonize. When in Kirinyaga, the president said, I will work with whoever you give to me. When he was in Tarakanidi, the president said, I will work with whoever you'll give it to me. But the deputy president was very clear. Mutalipa governor ni Jubilee. Senator, the Jubilee. So, and that is the message that is going on, the double speak. So that the deputy seems to be testing the waters by insisting that we need 6-piece suit of Jubilee. But the president is saying, hayo ni ya deputy president. Mimi nimesema, give me the people that you think.
But aren't they one and the same? Don't they? Are they essentially supposed to be reading from the same script?
Essentially, under the collective agreement, they should be saying the same message. But you can only see that message was only done once in Kiambu, where they all said in Thika that they want a 6-piece suit of Jubilee. And after the resistance, the president has said he will work with any. The deputy president is insisting it must be in Jubilee. So is this discordant information coming from the president and the deputy president? How do we read it? Are we reading a disjointed party? Are we reading a strategy? Is it strategic, the types of messages we are seeing, or is it by coincidence that the deputy president in his campaign, him is saying 2022, he wants only Jubilee members to go to parliament, while the president is saying, I care least, all I need, all these people are my people. Whether one comes from NAC, whether one comes from an independent candidate, whether one comes from Chap, once they're in parliament, everybody has a price tag on their head. I will be able to work with them. So that is strategically what we are going to see. In the deputy president's message in Wasingishu, he told Buseki very well, step down and leave Mandago to be in charge. So what has changed? We are likely to see today the president saying he will work with whoever the Kamba nation will elect. But the deputy president will be very categorical that he wants a 6-piece suit. We are yet to see what will come. Yeah,
we're yet to see. And as we come to the top of this hour, gentlemen, a summary of what impact these respective campaign tours are going to have in the respective regions, looking at Raila's campaigns in Kiambu, a Jubilee stronghold, and looking at the Jubilee Brigade's campaigns, the presidential campaigns in Ukambani. What is likely to be the impact there, Owidi, in summary, as we close this hour?
You realize that this is a very close contest. One vote makes a difference. So if Raila can go to Kiambu and run away with 30 votes, that's well and good. If Uhuru can run to Homa Bay and run away with 2 votes, that's well and good. So it is a very closely fought battle that you must get every little vote you have to get. But it is also a way of creating awareness, a way of radicalizing people so that the turnout comes out good, because all those are factors which will determine the final results. But also know that there is different levels of loyalty. For example, Raila's Odinga's loyalty in Homa Bay is the top one. Then he comes to the one in maybe Busia and the rest. That is the middle. Then if there are any in Jubilee strongholds, that is the bottom one. So each level you select carefully the words you say when you get there.
And Dunstan, your closing remarks as well.
My closing remarks are that this is a very serious contest. It is a contest that in 2013, the theory of rigging and the theory of voter tyranny of numbers carried the day. 2017, it is one vote that will wake up and vote that will determine. And that is why no single candidate will take that one vote for a joke. It must be looked for. It is a very expensive vote. You can imagine that somebody is going to spend 50 million to get 2 votes from Homa Bay. Somebody is going to spend 30 billion to get 1 vote from Kiambu. That is how expensive the voters have become and the votes are going to be. My take is that we are yet to see, by 15th, we are going to see very many nomads, people who have been masquerading that they belong to NASA or they belong to Jubilee, moving back to where they belong. And that is the likes of Munya. Are we going to see Isaac Ruto moving back to Jubilee? We are going to see the nomadic movement. By 15th of this month, we are likely to see the scenario how it will unfold. But it's a very competitive election.
Right, a very close call. That is Dunstan Omari with us in studio in the first hour of Citizen Extra, and Odoyo Owidi, who is a political analyst as well. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We've been looking at the disruption of perceived strongholds. The president keen to slice a chunk of the Ukambani region's votes from NASA. It is a perceived NASA stronghold. And on the other hand, NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga leading his brigade in the hunt for votes in Kiambu, a region which is believed or perceived to be President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard or stronghold. We are back with more in the next hour on Citizen Extra. Stay tuned.